rare franchise in the games industry, Saints Row managed to stand out thanks to its focus on comedy, antics, and parody of more serious games. However, after the fourth game's release, Volition shifted development to focus on a spin-off title. A third-person shooter with a team element, Agents of Mayhem looks to keep the comedic roots of the original franchise, all while trying to forge its own identity. Is Agents of Mayhem a fresh new face on the block, or are they the Agents of Mayhem? Following the Recreate Earth ending of Gat Out of Hell, Agents of Mayhem follows the titular organization as they attempt to defeat the supervillain group Legion. Legion's leader, Dr. Babylon, has set his sights on Seoul, South Korea, and it's up to Mayhem to piece together his villainous motivations. The story begins slowly, with players taking control of the most boring agents and facing the most mundane villain in the game. That all changes with Chapter 3, when players can unlock the more interesting heroes and face off against the game's most entertaining villains. Filled with the same style of comedy and parody as the Saints Row games, Agents of Mayhem is capable of eliciting laughs with its bizarre characters and scenarios. For example, one mission has an agent relive a drunken night of adventures.
Hey, I don't want raw fish, you f***ing animal! Give me a goddamn deep dish!
And another hunting down her former trainees turned Legion soldiers as she quarrels with her lover over the comms. Sadly, the story does take a dramatic shift in tone in the later parts of the campaign. While not overly serious, the amount of jokes and comical gameplay scenarios slow to a halt. It doesn't help that the conclusion of the story is not only unsatisfactory, but sequel bait. There's still a lot to love about the plot thanks to its humor and agents, it's just a bummer the ending is such a drag.
It's okay. It'll be okay.
Like Saints Row, Agents of Mayhem is a third-person shooter, but with a team-oriented approach. Players take 3 agents into combat and can swap between them at any point. Each agent offers unique specialties, weapons, and abilities, giving players a lot of different combinations to experiment with. Some agents, like Daisy and Redcard, are all about dealing insane amounts of damage. Meanwhile, characters like Oni and Rama focus on debuffing enemies. While experimentation is actively encouraged, the game makes it tedious to change up your squad. To swap out characters, players will need to travel back to the Ark, the central hub in the game, to reconfigure their party and then redeploy. The game also disappointingly lacks any form of cooperative play. This is a concept that feels ripe for some form of it, and the fact that previous Saints Row games had co-op makes its omission feel even more curious. Seoul is the game's open world setting, but it mostly amounts to busy work. Unlike Steelport, Seoul feels generic, with players given few fun things to do while exploring. Gone are creative side activities like insurance fraud and Professor Genki's super ethical reality climax. Instead, players can follow targets, kill patrolling enemies, and destroy supply trucks. There's also Legion occupation missions where you'll have to destroy Legion machines, golems, and capture bases. Typical open world stuff. Sadly, if you want to unlock alternate costumes and weapon skins, you have to participate in these activities. Even worse than the open world are the layers, which are all the same copy and pasted rooms with little variation, becoming tedious, repetitive chores. Thankfully, the main story missions and agent quests are very well designed and fun to play through. It's just unfortunate that the same attention wasn't given to the remainder of the activities. Now, in terms of presentation, Agents of Mayhem nails the 80s cartoon vibe it's going for. While not the prettiest game this generation, the gameplay, cartoon cutscenes, and even loading screens are oozing with color and personality. In addition, praise goes out to the writers and voice actors for the hilarious dialogue and performances, which really brings the game to life.
I remember climbing up a building. How in the hell did I do that drunk? Alcohol must give me superpowers or something.
What isn't so rosy about the game's presentation, though, are their performance issues. At least on PlayStation 4, the frame rate drops frequently, there's a large amount of pop-in, and there are several bizarre issues found throughout the game, including dialogue delay when driving. It's all quite jarring, and it feels like the game needed some extra time for polishing.
My job. Watching stuff blow up.
Just a scratch. Come back soon.
Still, even with these issues, this is still a very colorful experience. Agents of Mayhem is both new and familiar. It retains the sense of humor, mayhem, and parody that the Saints Row franchise is well known for, all while adding in new team-oriented gameplay. The agents and their stories are the real highlight of the game thanks to snappy writing, bizarre yet gripping scenarios, and perfect comedic timing. Being able to switch between them opens up all types of strategic gameplay options, and going up against villains like August Gaunt leads to some hilarious scenarios. It's unfortunate that the remaining activities are so repetitive and lack imagination compared to the rest of the game. It certainly doesn't help that the core experience starts rather slow and ends on a rather disappointing note. With a litany of performance issues, it probably would have been best if Volition had some extra polishing time to get things right. Still, there are hours of fun and laughs to be had with Agents of Mayhem, and you won't find too many of these types of games from AAA publishers.
Yay!
For everything Agents of Mayhem and gaming related, head over to hardcoregamer.com for your fix.